This episode is brought to you by Generate Solutions, your go-to AI experts specializing in empowering commercial real estate companies and environmental consulting firms. As AI is quickly transforming industries and enhancing efficiency, it is important you don't let your business fall behind. At Generate Solutions, we streamline workflows and automate tasks by creating custom AI agents tailored specifically to your business needs. Interested in taking your operations to the next level with AI? Email mfiorante@generatesolutions.com or find us directly on LinkedIn by clicking the link in the bio. On to our episode.
Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of A Conversation with John Conenna. Today, it brings me great pleasure to have this gentleman on again. He was on a few years back with me. We talked about hockey, because this is the sport that I love. But today we are here visiting with Paul Patskou. He's the foremost authority of archival hockey, football, footage, as well as a respected writer and award-winning researcher. Paul has worked as a consultant writer researcher on varied television documentaries, feature film projects for clients such as the NHL, the CBC, Sportsnet, TSN, ESPN, Hockey Night in Canada, and of course, Leaf TV and more. Paul, we could be on here for an hour with that introduction, but how you doing, young man? Good to see you.
Well, I'm fine, but that's very nice of you to say all those nice things about me. I appreciate that.
Oh, it's been great. While we were off camera, I do want to tell my audience that I met Paul about 28 years ago, but really never met him. And this is why in life, there's a respect factor. And we met through just email and talking on a phone and kept this relationship going of 28 years for the love that we both have for the game. And this man is totally tremendous. I got to ask you something. Our conversation today, of course, is going to be about what you do and what you've done. And we're going to touch on the passing of a great goaltender that passed last week, the one and only Ken Dryden of the Montreal Canadiens. I have to ask you, what drives you with this passion to keep doing this? What I mentioned here early on, being this great hockey historian.
Third, let's say I was watching hockey games Saturday nights, like every kid was back in late 50s, early 60s, with my dad, and he had passed away just after that season ended, and I always wanted to recreate that moment. So I started searching up for old videos. And of course, CBC says, nothing exists. No one else had anything, or they wouldn't even bother looking. But I persisted because I really wanted to do when I was really young. And I did find them at National Archives, and one thing led to another. And, Molson's called, the Leafs, NHL. I started working with all kinds of different places, documentaries, started doing books, research. I get calls all the time. Can you find this? Can you do this? I must have worked on about 50 different hockey documentaries. Some are really good, prominent ones.
Sure. I mean, Paul, how many books? Because I mean, if I would have led into that, how many books have you been a part of?
Well, maybe about 50 hockey books.
Wow, 50.
Either as a researcher, fact checker, writer, author, everything, photo, everything, with some really good people, really good authors too, like award-winning ones too.
Right. And tremendous. To find someone like you is rare. Because again, I was always this youngster who wanted to see old footage of old Chicago Blackhawk games. And it meant a lot to me because I could still see the game and remember the game in my mind. And when I ran into you and talked, when we had talked those 28 years ago, I was like, oh my God, this is something. And that lasting impression, that first impression, I feel becomes the lasting impression for what you do. Have you been approached by players over the years to say, Paul, I want that 6-goal game by by Sittler?
Oh yeah, constantly. I must have made hockey tapes for maybe over 300 players or their families. And it brings like if a family ever, if a player passed away in the family said, geez, we really like to have something and never have. And it's nice when I find an interview on Hockey Night and something like that. And I've done so many. I get requests all the time. I just got one last week where the Canadian national team in Canada, they disbanded in 1969. They are having a reunion. Not many left, but they want to relive 1967 time they beat the Russians. It was a centennial tournament in Winnipeg. I've never seen footage of it. No one else has, and I check in. They say if I can't find it, nobody can. Well, so what I did was I approached someone in Russia or here who posted someone in Russia, see if they would have had footage of that game. Interesting. I just got something from Russia. Not many people had that pipeline to go in there and find some footage.
Right.
And they sent me footage of that game with 3 Russian goals. And it says USSR 5, Canada 4. But that was not, that's their version of it. Now I'm going to send this to the players, but I'm going to explain. Well, no, that is the game. They got their score reversed. They don't have any Canadian goals. Just
Right.
associate what they think over there. They can't believe that they were ever lost the game back then. So that's just the latest one. But yeah, I get requests all the time.
Do you remember the first time when you were approached or you had something of, like that value, let's say like that 67 Leafs team, and somebody went back and says, "Hey, I want the game where Sawchuk shut down the Blackhawks in the old stadium, which I think was game 5." Do you remember that first one where somebody said to you, "Paul,
Oh,
this is amazing. This is great stuff. How did you get it? How did you do it? How did you piece it together?"
yeah. I remember now. We're going back a long time. I remember former Leaf Gary Alcorn. Met him at a car show, and I said, "Geez, I remember the hockey card. And I even have footage of you playing hockey. You couldn't believe it. Nobody had anything like that." So I gave it to him. He came over. He became a friend. He actually went to the last game of Maple Leaf Gardens, and he said, and once you establish yourself, other players will trust you, right?
Right.
I remember Bobby Hull came over, and this was not that long after. He came to me. He called me at work, and I'm working on a computer. I'm fixing computers, and they say, "Well, Bobby Hull." No, they say, "There's a call for you." I said, "Well, can you take a message? I'm with someone." And they said, "Well, it's Bobby Hall." I said, "Yeah, sure. Bobby Hall's going to call me at work, eh?" Well, I called, and it was Bobby Hall.
Bobby Hall.
You know, he needed footage. So I said, "Come over to the house. No, come to my work and tell me what you need." He came, and I walked around with him, and people couldn't believe it. This is around 98 or whatever. And then he came to the house, and we were friends ever since then.
Wow.
He asked me how much money I wanted. I said, "I don't want any money. I've got Bobby home
At your
house."
house. Yeah, I got it. You could have
Yeah,
got him before the WHA got him.
yeah. And so it was sad to lose him late, a few years back. But so that's one example. Um, Frank Mahovich came over. It's something when they come to your house too. That's really something.
Oh, sure.
And I put footage on for him. I've been to Johnny Bauer's house. I've been to all these places, and they're just like friends now. And I never thought when I was a young kid that these guys were I didn't have any relationship with them at all. But sadly, we've lost a lot of them now too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's amazing. Um, just over the years, I mean, of course, like when I met you, I remember this on pieces of paper, what you had. I remember you even having, now you talk about being an innovator. I remember you having old series of like, say, Leave It to Beaver, all this kind of things. You had all those shows, and we're talking in the 90s. So that you talk about rare. That was rare.
Yeah. There's no YouTube in those days.
No.
No, back then, nobody had anything. Nobody knew where to get it, and you had copyright issues and things like that. It's a long, long story of how I got everything, how one thing led to another, and Brian McFarland helped out because he brought him to the Hall of Fame. And if they show Brian brings him, he must be okay. But there's a lot of suspicious people. They think you're there to get something, and I
Sure.
wasn't. I would do research. I love the game and I love the history of it. And from then on, it's been so many different projects and international hockey. The '72 series,
Oh,
50th anniversary of that. I worked on that. Worked on so many different projects, the Leafs ones, and it is fun.
sure.
Yeah,
You know,
a lot of fringe benefits too.
and the stuff that you've done, let's talk about 72 for a minute. The stuff that you did for 72 makes you remember it like it was September 12th, because that series was in September 12th of 2025. You're thinking that's how you made this. You can remember all those 8 games, especially the ones here in Canada. And, just amazing work that you did.
I'm the one that found the games actually because none of the TV networks kept them.
Oh,
So one day, I get a call. This guy has, he claims he's got no Betacam, no Betamax, Betamax. He had all these games on Betamax, and I bought them off him. And when I get them, see, there's game 9. So what's game 9? Well, I forgot about that. That was played in Czechoslovakia. Um, Half the game was in French, game 1, half when game 4 is in French, and so they couldn't really put that on a DVD set. So I heard of this guy out in Alberta. He actually taped the games off the TV. So we married the English over the French, and it
right.
was a big production trying to get those 8 games together. We finally,
And it worked out well.
well, it sure did because people get to see them. The complete games with intermissions. Oh, and then I remember watching being honored in Montreal, and Tretiak was there, and I get a call, and it's Eddie Johnston from Pittsburgh. I'd met Eddie before. He's Eddie says to me, I played in that series too. I says, yeah, I know that Sweden game. He said, well, you get that for me. I said, well, I don't. We're talking a long time ago. It wasn't televised here, but I'll
Right.
try. And I had tried 10 years before that, but they said they had nothing. But tried again, and darn if they didn't have the game. It was like the truck version with no play-by-play, but the sound,
Okay,
perfect
great.
quality.
Did they win
And
that game in Sweden, by the way?
they won the first game, tied the second on an offside goal by Esposito. I think
Did
that was a
John
game
did
where
Eddie
Cashman
Johnston
got his
play in
own
both
puck and
games?
everything.
Paul, did Eddie Johnston play in both games?
He played in the second game, and that's the game they had.
Mhm.
So that was quite a find. Um, Nobody knew it existed. You keep searching. Yeah.
Well, and again, it's always about this. As you know, I've always chased the game, the 7th game of the 1971. I think I ask you every year for the last 28 years, and you'll always have that same answer for me, John. Nothing yet.
You and a whole bunch of other people,
Yeah, yeah,
you know.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. But
Yeah. It's
just fun.
yeah.
And I have to ask you a question now that I'll ask you here in 2025. Has this become more of, is it harder now in this era than it was, say, 28 years ago to get this kind of stuff? Is it harder
Okay.
now?
Well, okay. 28 years ago, you had no way of getting it. Didn't even know it existed. So that was really difficult. You really had to search out and but and now a lot of the good stuff's already been discovered.
Sure.
But about in between, it was when you start working. Did a project, Hockey People's History for the CBC 2005, and because it was CBC and the NHL was on it, I could retrieve anything without any copyright problems. That's when it was easy. You don't find that,
Right.
you know, because it costs money to do documentaries, a lot of money, and it's expensive. But in that case, you didn't have to worry about it. So that was easy then. Now, um, it's you keep searching for things, and things come up.
Sure.
But most of the stuff I was retrieving for Leafs TV did the classic games, and so we
Those were on
retrieved all.
Sunday nights, correct? Those were on
That's
Sunday.
right. Yeah,
Yes, I remember that.
yeah, and we did those, and we now everything's on YouTube, so you can probably see everything there now. Okay? I don't put everything. I have kept some stuff that no one else
Good.
has. Yeah,
So
you
you
know.
do have things, let's just say, that YouTube doesn't have, correct?
Oh yeah, lots. Yeah,
Good.
but I don't put anything on
No,
YouTube. I
no.
notice other people do.
Yeah.
But I don't have only one game.
Yeah. Okay. You know where I was going. No, you know what? Since, and again, just, I love just going back with you, and I would like to now, if we could maybe shift gears, and so since we talk about 71, of course, I don't know how far you go back. We, of course, last week lost the great goaltender Ken Dryden. Just a man of epic proportions in the sense of, being the athlete, the lawyer, the author, the teacher, a man of parliament in Canada, a very articulate man. How far and when is your first recollection, Paul Patskou, of Ken Dryden?
Okay, probably late '60s. He was with the Canadian national team, and I didn't know anything out. He played at Cornell. Um, he didn't play in this particular game. I'll set the stage. It's December 1969. He's with the Canadian national team, and the Russians are touring Canada. And the World Championships going to be in Winnipeg that year, but the IHF and whatever they didn't allow um, professionals to play, even though they said they were going to, and all that sort of thing. So maybe the last game that the national team played. And in goal was a 17-year-old Tretiak, and on the bench was Ken Dryden. He didn't play in that game, but he played in other games. He didn't do all that well against the Russians. So he's watching Tretiak, and he's watching Karmelov skate through everybody. And 3 years later, less than 3 later, 72 comes along, and people are so surprised that Tretiak's so good and the Russians so good. But Dryden was on the bench scenes from himself. So that's the first thing I saw. But he might have told the players of '72, "Hey, these guys are good," but they may not have listened. But, no. So then after the national team, of course, the next thing you hear about him is being brought up to Montreal. Last 6 games, he wins those, and the series against Boston,
No.
that's where he really became famous there, because
Yes.
that team Boston was supposed to win, although Montreal a pretty good team, and he was so good in that, and different because he was a big goalie, and they were big goalies back then, so the players had to adjust when they would go against him. But yeah, and then against Montreal, against Chicago in the playoffs, he was outstanding again. Everybody remembers that stop he made on Jim
Jimmy
Pappin, and
Pappin there with 3 minutes left.
yeah, and they should have won that game. Um, and you could put blame on the coach. Probably whole blames the coach.
Yeah, Billy Ray at that time, sure.
Yeah, that's right. And they didn't win.
Yeah.
And
I,
which is a shame. But Dryden was, he won the trophies, awards. Next year he's here, but he only played 6 regular season games, even though he played the whole playoffs. And then he's on a pretty good team.
sure.
But he he was a different type of a guy. He actually quit Montreal for a year. He went
Yes.
to be artically for lawyer,
Went to law
and
school. Sure.
yeah, and he came back because Montreal didn't win the cup, and they knew they needed him. And ever since then, he won 4 cups in a row, and
Yeah.
he quit when he was young. He could have gone on more.
Paul, the part I don't know about Dryden is, was he, I mean, this is probably, I shouldn't even say this. Was he the standout? I mean, at Cornell, he had a great career at Cornell, right? As a goaltender in college.
Well, you asked me if he was the one of the best goaltenders ever.
No, I'm asking in college, he also dominated at Cornell.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, because he was big,
Big
okay?
guy. Yeah. 6'4".
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, he was good. But nobody knew he'd be that good.
Yeah.
You know, everybody said, "Well, what would it have been if you played against a team that was really bad?" Because you got to admit, Montreal Canadiens didn't get many shots on him.
No,
So the
no.
debate if he was really that good or he was good on a good team. So
Exactly. The interesting part of when he comes to the NHL, I felt like Pollock must have known something because he's drafted by the Bruins, and then of course the Canadians get him. But here's the thing that is 71. I'll always remember. He plays 6 or 8 games at the end of 71 because Vachon, the other goaltender, was hurt. Um,
he won all of them. Yeah.
yeah, and of course, I don't think, like you said, Montreal does not come out of that series if Vachon is in goal. Nothing against Rogatin Vachon. But McNeil has this hunch, Al McNeil, that he's going to go now with Dryden in this opening round against, like you said, a team that dominated records, high scoring machine, and takes the mighty Bruins to 7 games and win. Were you shocked as the Canadian person in Canada that Dryden was going to start over Vachon back then?
Yeah, because he was basically known. But I don't know if Al McNeil, the coach, was the one. He could have been hey, bringing him up. He's going to play him. We don't know who made that decision, but it was the right decision, and obviously it was right. And
Yeah,
they had a pretty good team in Montreal. Okay, the Hollich brothers, Fleur, and great defense and everything. So the reason I was really upset is because Boston dominated by so much in the season. All the top scorers and Bobby Orr and all that, and
oh wow.
you can have all the best players, but that Montreal team, right? And you see, when you have a goalie that you can trust, your play becomes better. And they trusted him because he made those big saves.
Sure. You play with, like you say, a much more confidence. Yeah, good point that, that Montreal makes a big trade during the middle of the season and gets Frank Mahavlich from Detroit. And that really sets their offensive tone. They have this man who could really play the game and winds up in Montreal. So, yeah, do give credit where credit is due there with that situation.
Oh yeah,
How
was
is
a
he
big
looked
yeah.
at in Canada, Paul? How is Dryden looked at in Canada as the athlete, as the author, as the teacher, as the member of parliament? Was he a very, in Canada, I mean, a distinguished man, correct?
He he was different. I knew his brother really well. Um, he was very intelligent.
Yes.
Okay. Now, there were other intelligent players over the years, but they didn't handle things like he was accepted. Okay, like you talk about Carl Brewer or even Frank Mahovlich or people, they were intelligent as well, but they had this nervous component. Dryden didn't seem to have anything bothering him, and that it was most of his. Um, when he left, he did so many different things. Okay, like you said, he wrote the best hockey book. Okay, and he kept writing till a couple years ago. I think his last book was about his childhood friends when he was growing up. I mean, and he still had ties with them even years later. And I thought that was interesting, where he didn't forget his past and school and playing hockey with these guys. And they used to meet once a month up until recently. And of course, he did that documentary series on Canada, the game they called it. Brilliant. Okay. But he looked at hockey as a different, he didn't like the violence. Okay.
No.
And I always wonder, would he have been a good NHL commissioner? Well, Canadians might think so because, well, I do, because he thought like I do about this stick string, all this other nonsense that goes on. But I don't know. He, he, he never made decisions quickly. So I don't know he would have been in the boardroom with all those NHL governors.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but he did attend those meetings because he was general manager, president of the Leafs for a number of years, and
Yes.
that's where I got to meet him more because I worked for Leafs TV, and I met him at a number of times during the classic games. And interesting, he was the president. And we're doing the games. We're filming the games inside the arena there, and he comes down and we had sent him a game to watch, so he'd be prepared. He says, "Never again. Don't ever make me watch myself play again." He says,
Yeah.
he's pretty critical of himself. Yeah. So, but he kept on. He wanted to do work on headshots,
Uh-huh.
but he didn't know much about the history of them from the 50s and 60s. So I put a tape together of all the different headshots from those years, and he came over, had a nice talk, because he was dedicated to that safety. See, he was, you know, of course he went to Parliament.
Yep.
He did. Yeah. Well, what hasn't he done?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he wrote a book, and I forget the title. I know you're going to remember it. He wrote a book about an ex-Chicago Blackhawk, a Matador, um, who played for the Buffalo Sabres. And then when he came to Chicago, he had been reeled by concussions. And I know a gentleman here in Chicago that played for the Blackhawks and the Flyers, Dan Carcillo, and
Yeah.
he brings up how if Matador could have not had this type of life, like you said, he was not big on the violence. Uh, Question for Paul Patskou in regards to Dryden. I've watched so many interviews of him, Paul, over this last couple of weeks. Of course, what has happened. He was on a show called The Agenda with, I think it's Atkin,
Steve Paikin.
Bacon. And,
Yeah. Yeah.
watching the interview was fantastic interviews. I saw him on there twice. Um, his articulate ways were very intimidating to me. Were they intimidating to a Paul Patskou or other members that were around him while you were with the Leafs?
Well, I think Steve Paikin could have handled that. They're good friends, and Steve's a good friend of mine, and he does part of our Hockey Time Machine show. Intimidate. I never got into those type of discussions with them.
Right.
Okay. Well, I was just so I don't know, but he could probably change depending on who he's talking to. Okay. Like I don't think he talked down to anybody.
Okay.
You know. Yeah. Not that I know of.
Right. But I like what you said. He had a very calm demeanor about him. He could, like, I can imagine even in that series in 72, here's this young goaltender. He had this demeanor about him that, he could handle this. You would wonder because you're going up against it wasn't really a young Russian team. It was a veteran Russian team that he was playing.
It was a good game, and in Game 8, what more pressure could there be on a goalie in a Game 8 in a series like that?
Right.
They put him in, even though he didn't play all that well in previous games. But they had the confidence that he could do it. And in the third period, I think Henderson or someone said to him before the period started, "Don't let any more goals in, because we'll get you the ones we need to win." And he shut them out in that third
Yeah.
period.
Because Paul, you bring up a good point. Going into that Game 8 and going into that third period, 20 minutes left, they're down 5-3. And yeah, Henderson was right. We don't need any more goals to go in here, And
Yeah,
and
and
that had,
here's what he did. It wasn't
sure,
lost. Yeah.
that had to be a big decision for Sinden, or maybe it wasn't, because Esposito had won Game 7. Tony Esposito had won Game 7, and now he's got to make this decision, Dryden or Esposito. But yeah,
Yeah.
just
They alternated goalies every game at that point, and Dryden did win game 6. Um, yeah, we thought maybe Esposito should play. He could handle the Russians better, and he won game 7. But turns out that it was the right decision. You know, it's tough playing a team you don't haven't played before, and you have different
sure.
style.
Were
And
you shocked? Were you shocked in the sense of him coming to Toronto? What was he for the Maple Leafs? He was the general manager,
okay,
president.
he was hired as the president.
Yes.
Now he's not like an unknown. Everybody, and he's from this area. Okay, so he may have been a Leaf fan when he was young. So he's determined to bring the glory back to the Leafs. He did a lot of good things, brought the alumni back, and all kinds of things, the new arena and all that. And he was supposed to hire a general manager. So he looked around and he talked to people, and he didn't find anybody he liked, so he made himself general manager at one time.
Wow, incredible.
So, but he lasted a few years, did a lot of good things, and then he went on to politics. You know,
I mean, it looks like he had this appetite, Paul, that he wasn't going to stop with one thing. And we see that early on as the hockey player, the lawyer. And I just wonder and he was a teacher at a lot of universities in Canada, correct?
that's right. Later years, yeah, he taught. I was in Montreal that he taught. He did. Well, there's nothing he didn't do. I mean, he was on a lot of shows. Okay, um, mostly talking about the safety of the game
Yes.
and how it should be played. And a goalie knows he can see everything. But look at the type of guy where I used the word different, but he was different. Okay, he still cared, and he mixed in well.
Right. For the
Mm,
personality he had, yeah,
yeah,
he did mix in. I felt like he could be the the player, the author, the lawyer in all these different situations. I want to
that's right.
stop for a second to tell our audience how important Paul Patskou is. I was just looking at some notes, Paul. You've been a part of so many things and helped so many. Where I'm going with this is like, like for the CBC, the Hockey Night in Canada, the years of the Toronto Maple Leafs, the things you did for Sportsnet, all the CFL things. I mean, in a year, are you always getting approached for hockey, football, and baseball still to this day? Are you constantly getting approached?
Yes, I am. But not every approach turns into a documentary. I a 2 month period this year. I was approached by 4 different production companies to do a documentary. None of them happened because of the budget. If you don't have a budget, you can't. Now, there's a lot in the works right now, but um, the, it's not just documentaries. I've done hockey movies as well.
Sure.
And what I really enjoyed was, well, I did the Sawchuck one and the Willie and Rock Richard one, but the Salming one. Now there's a story there because it was done Swedish producers and they asked me to help out, and I did everything for that. And at the start, everybody was happy, but then Barry Salming, he gets ALS,
Hmm.
so everybody's on a downer. And then when he passes away, it's even worse. But the production really went well, and it's difficult doing a hockey documentary to make the players. You have to get actors to on the ice to be hockey players.
Sure.
And I went to shoots and everything, and it was a lot of fun. And I got to meet new people, and saw myself on TV as an extra and everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it. Yeah.
I have to ask you, I did watch the movie Sawchuck. You were a part of that with to giving them, of course, a lot of information. How do you look at that movie? Could it have been made better?
Well, okay. Um, if you notice, they didn't have the logos
Logo
on
on
the,
the jersey, yeah.
yeah, because you have to get NHL permission and pay them. And that might not have been a problem, but the NHL wanted to have editorial control. Well, you have to tell the Terry Sawchuk story like it really happened,
Sure.
which is dark. Okay. So they didn't deal with the show and they did it anyways. And yeah, there's some things you could have improved, but the story was told like it really happened because Sawchuk's son was in addition to it as well. And yeah, people will say, well, it's kind of a sad story. Well, that's what it's supposed to be. You know, but he was a great goalie, and I think that it came out pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I have to be honest. I mean, didn't like the whole thing about the jerseys and all that kind of thing, and maybe some things
The reason,
were
yeah.
exaggerated in different ways, but
Well,
not to the point where it was, careless.
okay. My when I get the script is to say, well, I know you get licensed to do certain things, but don't put something in that's really off the wall. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that stuff gets taken out. But sometimes to make the dramatic moment, you do things that really never happened then or or at all.
Sure.
Okay, that's a movie. That's every movie's the same. Okay? So there were things like they were filming in Montreal for the Rock Richard one, and they called me and said, "Which um, way did Elmer Locke shoot?" I said, "You shot left." Well, the studio sent us a right-handed shooting player. It's just,
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
well, those things are going to happen, but
Yeah, exactly.
um, yeah, movies are fun to be part of.
You know,
Yeah.
it's just like the movie Pride of the Yankees with Lou Gehrig. Everybody made fun of Gary Cooper's swing, that it wasn't this, Lou Gehrig
Yeah.
type swing. I want to ask you a question, and then we're going to play a game with you of 5 questions before I let you go. Um, and I want to ask you one more thing of your recollection of Dryden. I was a goaltending coach here besides being a head coach in Illinois, and there's a gentleman, a young man named Ryan McInerney, who's doing a movie about Glenn Hall. And do you know where this movie is going? Is it coming out or what's going on? Because now I can't get a hold of Ryan.
Oh, really? Oh, well, okay, let me tell you about that. This got to be 2017. That's when it first started.
Right.
And I was hired to be the consultant research or whatever. Okay. And I think he was here's the money thing again, where you need the budget, right?
The budget.
So the film was completed and I saw well, it was a rough cut, but it was really well done. Okay. But come on, it's got to be released at some point, and I haven't heard from Ryan in a while because Glenn Hall's like over 90. You know, I
Yes.
mean, you want it to be released when he's around. It is well done. So there's a lot of rare footage that no one else has seen before. The Hall family was happy because Glenn Hall said, "I remember that thing in '61 All-Star game in Chicago where they introduced me and stuff like that. Well, no one's seen that." Well, I did send that to them, and they were happy. There's things that he remembered, and I hope it does come out. I'll have to contact Ryan and find out what's going on.
Yeah, because I don't want to bother him. I had asked him if he wanted to do an interview, me being his ex-coach, and he says, "Well,
Yeah,
Coach John," he said, "let's wait till it really comes out." But yeah, I'm really hoping. I was looking forward to that, and I knew he had mentioned you that you were helping him, so I really was now gun ho because I know it's going to be good stuff.
I hope it's for the whole family, and it is well done. And I want to go to the premiere and after party and all that stuff too.
Sure, and I can imagine.
Yeah.
Uh, How does Canada and how does Paul Patskou, before we play the game of 5 questions, remember the great Ken Dryden? What's your thoughts as we close on Dryden?
Well, very intelligent, thoughtful, caring. Um, he's a great goaltender. He was he thought differently. But he did so many different things that he had to have different thoughts and different things. I don't know how
Sure.
to explain them, but he was so, you know, epic proportion. I think that's what you mentioned at the beginning. There wasn't anything. If he did something, he's going to do it right. And and the books he wrote, they were perfect. The documentary he did, it was fantastic.
Yes.
Nothing he did seemed bad. It's hard to be that perfect, but it's,
Right. Yeah. Well,
yeah.
well said by you. Well said. Well, okay, I'm going to ask you 5 questions. They're one-word answers. Once again, we want to get to know Paul Patskou a little bit better. And then
The one word.
what could be one word, could be a sentence, however you want to elaborate. And then there's something I have to say about you at the end. All right. In regards to all the things you've done, because it's been fantastic. Um, I mean, to go back in time and just to remember a lot of these things. Um, uh, I what is your early mentor that drives you to do this? Who's an early mentor?
My father
Okay,
watching games when I was young
Ken,
started.
beautiful. It was their first and lasting impression, correct, Paul?
That's right. Is I wanted to recreate. Because I lost him right after we watched. It wasn't the same after that. So you kind of want to recreate. I was really young, 7 years old. So
Sure. Wow, wow.
And that really is what inspired me to start looking.
That's really, I mean, the the father figure, and look how I mean, he'd be so proud of you to see the dominance you have with us.
If he knew the now that I was at least that we were watching the games together and write about them and being on TV and radio and all these things I could do. Yeah, he would have been proud.
No, definitely. Okay, what's Paul Patskou's favorite movie of all time they can watch 200 times and not get bored?
That's not hockey.
Could be hockey and or anything else. You tell me.
I watched The Godfather.
Okay. Okay. Which one? The
Good
first one
plan.
with Brando?
That's the best one. But yeah, I could watch that over and over.
I can
Yeah.
imagine. Okay, great. I'm gonna fall. Mine is Raging Bull, the story about the boxer Jake LaMotta.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No,
All
I like
right.
American from 4th Street too. So
Yeah,
that's
no, good one. Um,
yeah.
you've seen a lot of Toronto Maple Leaf teams, a lot of them in your time and now. What is Paul Patskou's favorite Toronto Maple Leaf team of all time that he still remembers like yesterday?
Oh, yeah. That has changed over the years. I'm not going to go past 67 because haven't really. When you're younger, you have more of a passionate view
Sure.
of it. So, favorite team, 59. And going back to that's the last year I watched with my dad. They made they missed the playoffs 2 years in a row, and they made the playoffs that year in the last night of the season. Last night, beat Boston and then played Montreal, and that's when the dynasty started. You see, even the players in Imlach said that was their favorite team and favorite year because they came from nothing, and that's what
And
I remember.
and I remember in a brief conversation with you before, you kind of mentioned this year, and so you still remember it in your own way, right?
Oh yeah, when you're a kid, you're more impressionable,
Sure.
and you see all the actually
Oh,
people like the hockey cards and all that.
without a doubt,
Yeah,
for sure. Um, all the things you've done, even for a John Conenna, an athlete, a Bobby Hall. Um, maybe you've done things for the Toronto Maple Leafs, Frank Mahovlich, football, CFL. What was that ultimate compliment that you couldn't believe you got the compliment and you still remember it to this day? The ultimate compliment to Paul Patskou.
well, one writer called me national treasure. I can't go more than them. Okay.
That, and you know what? That's not far off the truth at all,
Well, I
because
don't
you
know about
are.
that, but
You really are. I mean, I people who know you, and of course people that don't know you, see some of your work is incredible. So that's just beautifully the way you said it. All right, question 5, and then I'm going to say something about you. If you had to do this all over again, is Paul Patskou doing this all over again? The same way what you've done for hockey, football, baseball, just what you've done for people in general.
you're asking me if I would be do it different?
No, would you do it the same way all over again? Are you doing it the same way?
Yeah. But you got to remember, sometimes things fall into place, and you do something and someone else notices it, and you don't even go for it, but they
Sure.
come to you. It's hard to explain.
Sure.
Yeah, there's no other way of doing it the way how I did it because no one else was doing it at the time.
Sure.
You got to switch it out. I was the only one looking for footage, and they thought I was a genius at
Sure.
looking at motions in the NHL because they didn't. How could somebody know everything they got back then? What all the footage was because I
Sure.
searched it. Yeah,
Sure. And
and
and you talk about this was really something rare. I mean, like I says, when I fell upon you back then, this was something rare that was done.
the advantage I have is that um, I can people they can find the footage and maybe know what game it is, but I can tell you the significance. There's something that happens in every game, just and for hockey photos too, that people don't know about. And I always like the backstory, and that's where I concentrate on. When I see a film or a photo, what's the story behind it? And that's what I know because of the hockey history that
Sure.
others don't know. Yeah.
Sure. Beautiful. Paul, I'm going to leave you with this. And it comes back to this thing that you said, that you're a treasure. But this is what I got to say about Paul Patskou. And I hope we can have another one of these and continue to talk for as long as we're both still here on Earth. Paul is an amazing man. He's building a legacy that is unknown to most people. Please keep it going. And this comes from a gentleman after you were on an interview. And I said to myself, wow, to use that word amazing, that is the compliment of compliments, just like you being a treasure. And I want to truly thank you for coming on a conversation with John Conenna today. Love talking hockey, love talking about Mr. Dryden, and of course, your work is fantastic.
Well, thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure to do this with you, John, and thanks again.
You got it. We have visited with Paul Patskou. This will go out on YouTube and on Spotify in about 2-3 days, so we can relive this interview with Paul, the great hockey historian from Toronto, Canada. Good day, everyone.
Thank you.